Hi guys, plan today is to take the receiver out of this tractor and replace it with this one I've just bought off AliExpress, which has 3 motor outputs on it. So steering motor, drive motor and bucket motor, or what we want to call this bit. Because I've ordered the wrong one, I've got tractor controls, no, I haven't. I've got tank controls, both forwards, both backwards, instead of that one being left and right. So I'm very tempted to put that receiver in that tank. But because I bought it specifically to do this one, I'm going to do this one first, and then I may consider putting it in that one. I may even buy another set and order the right one, and then use the right controller for that one and the right controller for that one, because I would think they'll be compatible. You know, that's the A controller, the B controller is the one that goes left right. I would think the controllers will be compatible with the receivers regardless of whether they're A or B. So enough said, I'll take this apart and we'll have a look and see if we can just do a bit of wiring and swap it over. Before I move the camera out the way and get on with this, I have already done a tear down on this tractor, so I'm not going to do it again. I'm going to take it apart and then we'll resume filming when I'm ready to put the receiver in there. Right, we're inside. It's all nicely plug-ended. Black and white wires go down to the on-off switch. Green and blue wires go to that's the steering motor, just off screen there. In fact, I'll leave them on there, I think, because I'll desolder at that end. That black and red wire is the power coming in. Blue and red that'll be the bucket motor, as I'm calling it for now. And red and white is the drive motor. And then there's another little plug there, a black one on its own, which is the aerial. So yeah, I can resolder directly onto the drive motor easily enough. I can resolder onto the steering motor, but the other one's tucked away in there, a little bit difficult to get to. I'll have a little think. I've either got to disassemble a little bit further so we can get to the the bucket motor, I'm going to call it, or I'll cut the wires and resolder them. I'll have a look to see how much work it is to get down there. Right, there's 2 screws up in the top here. Releasing them has taken the top off the bonnet there. And I've undone the 4 screws, 1, 2, 3, 4 in there. That's loosened that part of the body, but it looks like I've actually got to undo these to actually get down underneath. Thinking about it, when I said I did a tear down on this, I didn't do a full tear down and take the gearbox apart and that sort of thing. Just looking at that, that looks like that's metal gears in there. Right, yeah, looks like I've got to get that one undone. Is that going to come apart now? Still something holding it, that one right at the back. Is it? Something back there holding it. Ah, there. Well, that's the battery, isn't it? Right, okay. So now, is that going to come apart? It would. It's just that aerial clipping it in place. Okay. So, I wonder if I can remember how to put it back together when I've finished. Right, so that's the battery supply, which is only 3 AAA batteries, so 4.5 volts. This says it works on 3.6 to 6 volts, so that should be all right, should work. What it'll probably pay me to do is solder up these wires onto each piece without putting it all together and see if it works. So that's next. Right, I shall do this more or less at random because I can't actually read Chinese, so I don't know which motor is controlled by which button. Oh, no, I'll take that back. They've actually got 1, 2, 3, and that's motor 2 there, which is the steering, motor 1 for the forwards, backwards, and motor 3 is the up and down. So looking at it like that, goes 1, 2, 3. So 1 is the drive motor. Okay, am I rushing it a bit? One. Okay. Can usually guarantee that I'm going to get it backwards, so I'm just not going to worry about it. 2 is going to be the steering motor. I could have unplugged them and done them instead of struggling like this. 3 is the bucket motor, as I'm going to call it. Okay, just move that out of the way for now. Now, I've got an adapter cable already made up, so I can go from a single cell LiPo battery, which I've just measured is, at the moment, sitting at 4 volts. Lithium ion battery, 4.048 volts according to that. So I can plug that into there, and that into there. We've got a light on. It would help if we'd actually put a battery in here as well, wouldn't it? Two double A's. There's me thinking it was going to be a 9 volt. Okay. Two double A's. So does that mean that's lift that up? Oh yes. Except we still got that bit on. Very slow. Okay. This, oh, which way was forwards? I've actually got forwards in the right direction. Steering. What happened there? Looks like it hasn't got enough power. That did move a little bit. Yeah, okay. How about this one? Oh, wrong one. That one. Okay. So we've got a problem with steering. Is the problem with steering not enough power? I think it might be, because that's a bigger motor. If we unplug that and stick it into the drive motor socket, yeah, I think there's just not enough power to drive that because it's a bigger motor. Possibly. Unplug that again. Unplug that. Put that one back in there so we don't forget which one's which. See if we can drive this one directly from 3.5 volts. Hang on a minute. Oh, I wonder if that was the problem. capacitor was shorting out. That wouldn't be good. Yep, that's all it was. The suppression capacitor, I must have moved the wires myself. I can't imagine it was like that originally, but that was actually shorting itself out. So apart from, as I say, not knowing which is left and right, because we're going up and down instead of left and right, we have steering. So it all works. Will it work off 4.5 volts on there is the next question. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have to change the wiring on there. I've got quite a few of these connectors, so I can actually do that with a bit of luck. So that'll pick up the battery there. If I can figure out how to get into there, I should think if we undo all those screws, we can probably get in there and put a connector on there. But what I was about to say was I want to intercept the power wire and take it down to the on-off switch so that we can use the on-off switch properly. Let's unplug that for now. See if we can get in there. We've got to undo all of them. Yeah. I just thought I didn't check which was up and which was down. With that, I just checked it worked. It would be a good idea to have it go up when we press the up button and down when we press the down one. I think that just clips in place. Yeah, that just holds the steering wheel on, that screw there. I think this just clips in. Yeah, that's coming up. And the other side came up easily. There we are. So we've got access to the terminals to, oh, drop my screwdriver, solder onto there. So I'll do that. Could use that one. Is that going to be long enough? I think I've got some with slightly longer leads? And the answer is no. The ones that I've got are exactly the same length. That's a shame. So we'll have to make do with what we got. Right, that's the connector soldered on there. What I thought I might do was put some batteries in here. See if we can hold it in place. That one's a bit corroded. That might be a problem. That's annoying. That is annoying. Because that's all sort of sealed in. We'd have to break this apart to replace that one. Not impossible, but we'll just see if it works. Right, done that. Where's the... So that goes in there like that. Goes in there like that. So that's... We got power. It's working. Oh, no reverse? Why no reverse? What happened there? Steering's working. Why did that stop working? Oh, come on. Up and down. Yeah, up and down's working. That's up. I have got them the right way round. That's handy. Down. But that stopped working. Oh, come on. Try it with that one. Okay. Swap it back to this one. Hold it down. Yes, this. Yeah, it looks like this battery box might need some work on it. I could put a small LiPo in there at a push. I think I've got some that might fit. I'll have a look. Yeah, something like that one would fit in there. We'll use that as a last resort, but at least we know if necessary we could do that. Right, okay, so it all works. Now I've got to do is try and remember how to get it back together. Oh, and do the on-off switch. Right, so on-off switch works now. So we'll see if we can get it all back together. Just so you know that I have done everything, that aerial wire, I'm going to have to unscrew the top of the cab just so we can lift it out, because we don't need it. So we'll take it right out the way. That's just a matter of undoing these. So I won't bore you, making you watch that. There you are, unscrewed. So we can get that out. And put that back together. I'm well on my way to getting it all back together, and it's just occurred to me that I could have done a tear down of the gearbox bit that drives that up and down, and I could have done a tear down of this gearbox, and I could do a tear down of the steering. I'm not going to take it apart again to get that out, I'm afraid. I mean, it is only going to be a motor driving a set of gears. We could have a look in here, that should be easy enough to get to. In case you're wondering why I'm doing this, I do have people who specifically like to see how the steering works. Either that or they just like to see me struggle and get things apart. I didn't want to come out. That's better. Will that lift out? Yes, it will. Right, let's just make sure the camera's on it. Okay, so if we lift that and try and hold the rest of it in place, pinion gear on the motor, drives that gear, and if we lift that gear out, you'll have another gear underneath it, or it's a double, is it a compound gear, is that what they call them, where you've got two gears together? So that smaller gear is the one that drives that to go left and right. And then if I hold that carefully, it's all going to go horribly wrong. Lift that out of the way. Under there will be the spring return. Right, so that spring, we lift that out, that would normally be there, that spring would be on there, over, let's move all this out of the way. Right. Okay, so the peg on the bottom of there, is that out of focus? Well, we're in focus now, sits between those two legs of that spring. Just put that in, upside down. Sits between the legs of that spring, so that's what returns the steering to the centre. The motor drives the steering to one side, and then when you take your finger off the button, that cuts the power to the motor, so it just freewheels back to position, driven by that spring. So power drives it to the side and spring returns it to the middle. And if it's going slightly off to one side, that's when you use the adjuster, which pushes one side of that spring. If I take that out of the way again, right, the adjuster, can't get my finger on it now, pushes the spring slightly to one side or the other, which is what gives you your centre position if your tractor, in this case, isn't driving quite straight. Just about all the toy grade radio controlled cars have something similar. It may look slightly different, but it's the same principle. A spring is what drives it back to the middle, or pushes it back to the middle. Right, that one goes on there. Now we've got to try and get these back together. It's that way up, isn't it? Okay, and go back like that. That one, oh, those plastic bits sticking up at the bottom will be stops that go up against the side of the bodywork to stop the steering going too far one way or the other. Almost back together and it just popped out. Oh, come on. Right. Okay, that's all back together, more or less. Then the motor goes down there. Oh, that's dropped off. Can we get that back on without pulling it all apart? It's usually best to do this bit off screen because it all goes horribly wrong. Oh no, we've done it. So we're back together. So if your steering doesn't return to the middle, it's probably the little peg has come out from between those legs of the spring, or the spring has become dislodged, or something similar. I do have a playlist where I put all the videos of me taking the steering apart on these toy grade radio controlled cars. So check the video description and there should be a link to that playlist. Always turn the screw backwards a few times till you hear it click, and then forwards. That means it's found the right thread. If you just go forwards, you might start forcing it to create its own thread. Right, that's the steering. So we might as well have a look in the gearbox while we're at it. Probably lose the light now. I could put the light on the camera. Right, so are we ready? Is that going to come apart nicely? No. Why isn't it coming apart nicely? It's just a little bit stiff. Lots and lots of gears. What's that? That's another screw. Oh. That was up from underneath, wasn't it? Yeah. Okay, so it's just lots of gears. So, motor drives that one drives that one. Yeah, so motor drives that one is connected to that one drives that one, connected to that one drives that one, connected to that one drives that one, and then that one is the one that drives that one, which is connected to the back axle. Now, without counting the teeth, I can't tell you what sort of reduction ratio that is, but that's a pretty good reduction ratio. And they're only tiny motors they're using. So, that was the one that just fell out the bottom. So, backwards a little bit. And forwards. Backwards a little bit. Forwards. Backwards a little bit. Forwards. So that was the gearbox. So, gearbox is going to go into there. Is that upside down? Yes, that's upside down. Or is it? Yeah, I think that's the right way round now. That was one of the screws. I don't feel like that's gripping at all, which is probably why it was laying loose in there. Right, I put all the other screws over the other side of the table, so I'll go and get them and put it back together. Nearly had a disaster then. Spotted that nut was laying in with all the screws that I got left here. Realised it's the one that goes on the screw that holds the battery box in place. Luckily, I haven't had to take everything apart. It goes just in here, so I had to undo a few screws to get it to drop into place. Right, that's better. Just thought I'd show you that because that was a bit of a panic all of a sudden. Right, we're very nearly there. Steering's got to go on, but obviously we need to get the receiver in there. Now the original receiver was in that area, but I don't think it's going to fit there. I think we're going to have to fit it across here. I've also forgotten which motor's which. That one's the drive motor. That one's the up down. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that's going to fit just there. It's just a bit too big, but I think it will fit there if we're lucky. But I need to put a bit of tape on the back of it so it doesn't touch the motor. So that's where it's going to go, and hopefully I can finish getting it back together then. Okay, that all got a bit intense there, getting the receiver in place, because it wouldn't fit where I wanted it to. If you look at it now, you may see that I've had to cut it about quite a bit. It had quite a lot of space on there unused, so I was quite easily able to cut quite large lumps out of it. So it does now fit down there. And if I turn it on, where's the on-off switch there? There we are, it's on. I'm running it off that lithium ion cell at the moment, just for convenience. So yeah, we got forwards and backwards, steering, and up and down. So now I will put it back together. I think I will put a little bit of hot glue in there just to hold the receiver in place, because there's nothing to stop it rocking around at the moment. So I'll do that, and then we'll see if we can finally get all the bodywork back in place. Well, it's all back together, but something's not right. Whether it's that battery again, because I've got up and down, but now I've got no steering and no drive. No, I'm going to have to take it apart again. Something's not right. And it does look like it's that battery's not strong enough. So I put the lithium ion battery on. And we're all right. The steering doesn't work because the wire's fallen off and I've put it back together, so I'm going to have to resolder that again. That's annoying. But then this has been waggling around quite a bit while I've been cutting the receiver board about, so that's probably expected. So the question is, do we persist with the existing batteries, or do we just accept we're going to have to put lithium ion in there? I'm going to put lithium ion in there, or LiPo. Do I take it all apart again and put a suitable connector inside? Think about that for a minute. Right, the decision I've come to is I'm going to take it apart again. We're going to use a small LiPo battery, like this one. It fits into that battery compartment there. So I'm going to take this apart, take out the connectors and directly wire a suitable JST plug on the back of the receiver board and have it sticking out through there so we can pull it out and connect the LiPo battery in. I've just checked or double checked these batteries, AAA batteries that I've been using, and they're all still excellent. So it could be that we're not getting a good connection off here, or it could be that particular spring is very corroded, so it may be going high resistance and it's dropping the voltage going in. But it does appear to be not enough to run the drive motor. So as I say, we'll go for a LiPo instead. Frustrating. Well, I've got it back together and it's working. I'll tell you a bit more in a minute, but we'll just see it working. But I've got to do some more work on it. You may notice that bucket or blade or whatever you want to call it at the front isn't turning as it's going up and down. And I've been looking at it, and this bar across here that I think is supposed to be able to turn to keep it all in alignment is absolutely rigid. And it's got rust on it, so I expect it's rusted into the pivot points on either side, and I'm going to have to try and free that up because at the moment that just isn't right. So I'm going to spend even more time on this. But at least we've made a definite step forwards. It works. Oh, and I got the LiPo battery in the back there. So it's running on a small 1-cell LiPo battery. Thanks for watching. If you want more information, check down below in the video description. If you like this video, you might like this one up here. And if you want to subscribe, you can check out my channel over here. Up here is my latest video on my channel, and down here is a video playlist associated with the video you've just watched. Thanks again for watching.